Hey guys, what's up? It's Savannah. Welcome back to another episode of My Thoughts Exactly. Thank you guys so much for joining me here today. I am so happy that you are here. If you're new here, hi, my name is Savannah and I'm your host of My Thoughts Exactly. Before we get started, make sure you go ahead and hit that subscribe button. That way you never miss an episode. We post weekly here on the podcast every single Friday. You're not going to want to miss it. We also upload the video version onto YouTube on Fridays as well. So make sure you are subscribed. And with that being said, you guys, happy Friday. I hope you've had a great week. And if you haven't, guess what? It's Friday. You did it. It's the weekend. The weekend is here. Happy Friday, you guys. I personally am having a pretty good week so far. I can't lie. The weather, guys, the fall weather is doing its thing and I could not be more thrilled. We had such an amazing, just like transitioning into fall type of weather over these past couple days, and it's been so nice. I believe Thursday, so the day before you hear this, so yesterday technically by the time you hear it, it's the high is supposed to be like 73 or something. We are moving our way down. But the thing about Nashville likes to tease us. So what Nashville will do is Nashville will give us 73, 75, 77, 72. And then just when you think fall is here, boom, 88, just like that. And it's really disheartening and it's honestly kind of rude. So that's where we're at in just kind of like the weather report right now. But I just like to keep manifesting that it is fall. I am waking up every day and making myself a pumpkin spice latte at my home. I am thinking that the more I truly believe and convince myself that it is fall, the sooner fall will be here. And technically, I think the actual official day for fall is like September 23rd or something. I think it's something along those lines. It's got to be something like that. So we are getting close to it for sure, but I am just already manifesting it. I think I bought my first fall decor item back in August, like August 15th or something like that. And I am just living for fall. But that is my fall update. Other than that, not much. I mean, it's just been a really great week. I've been feeling really good this week. Yeah, that's kind of it. Nothing really to report. And I guess no news is good news, and we're going to keep it at that. But for today's episode, as you can tell by the title, I am very, very excited because this is something that we have not yet really uncovered on My Thoughts Exactly. It's not something that we really talked about. And that's really the reason I wanted to talk about it today, is because we haven't really uncovered it and we haven't unpacked it. And I do think that it is something that is really detrimental to talk about, because I think that so often everyone talks about, and as you can tell by the title, everyone talks about the dangers of social media. And again, by the title, you can tell today we are talking about social media, the dangers of it, what to kind of take away from social media as someone who is in social media, and why I stopped posting as frequently on social media. So we're going to unpack all of that today. But I think, as I mentioned, so often with social media, everyone says, oh, don't fall for it. It's a scam, or, it's a highlight reel, or you hear all of the sayings, right? But not very often do we really unpack what that means and how to really focus on not comparing yourself in a world where all we look at are other people. All we're seeing is other people's opinions. All we're faced with is, everyone else's lives, and it's hard to focus on our own. So I really just wanted to kind of unpack all of that today and talk about it, because I do think that it's important. And again, this is coming from someone who has been in social media I started in 2017, it's 2024. Let's do the math, college dropout. Let's think that's 4 plus 3. So 7 years. I've been in social media for 7 years. There we go. So that's where I think, and that's where we'll start. Whenever we talk about any of these Let's Talk episodes, I like to give my credentials on why I feel like I am a pretty decent candidate to talk about some of these topics. Not that you have to be at all. Anyone can have their opinions on any of the things that we talk about. But from my perspective, where I'm coming at this from is from someone who has been in social media for 7 years. I started in 2017. I started doing long form content on YouTube. And, I have watched and seen with my own eyes how social media has evolved and what it really has become. And it's something that as much as I can sit back and say I love social media and I love, everything that it has given me, all of the, the chance to connect with all of you, it is truly one of the biggest blessings in my life. I can also recognize what the downfalls of social media have also become. So again, I started social media 2017, long form content on YouTube. I'm sure a lot of you who are, listeners of My Thoughts Exactly and are, watchers of this podcast kind of started, if you're watching this podcast, I feel like most of you kind of know me from my beginning content, which was very much the lifestyle content. It was the makeup reviews, it was the drive with me's, it was the playlist videos, it was the story times. That's where I started in YouTube, and then I incorporated Killer Instinct and true crime videos about 6 months into me starting social media, and that just kind of opened up a whole new demographic of people. But again, I started in the lifestyle space, and when I started social media, it was genuinely because I loved it. I didn't start it thinking it was really going to take off. Obviously, that's the hope for everyone, is that once you start something, you're going to be successful at it. But I didn't necessarily know what that was going to look like for me, obviously, because you can never predict things like that. But again, it was something where obviously you want things to go well, but you don't know how it's going to transpire for you and what that journey is going to look like. So for me personally, I started social media because I dropped out of college and I was at home. All of my friends were in school and I really had no friends and I didn't know what to do with my time. And I always grew up watching social media. I grew up watching like, the Andrea Russets, what was like the Jenna Marbles, the all of those types of channels. I can't even think right now, but those were like my go-tos and like my comfort creators. And I was really drawn to that type of content. And that is a content that I also wanted to make. And that's what I did. Now, when I started social media, I was posting constantly and not just on YouTube. I was also posting on Instagram. I was posting very, very consistently. I was posting 3 times a week on YouTube and I was posting just, constantly 24/7 on Instagram. And my whole mantra with social media was I was going to completely expose myself and just lay it all out there and not hold anything back. As you can probably tell from my story times, I literally have exposed myself tenfold through my previous story times in like the 2017, 2018, 2019 era. I was constantly just posting about like all of my shitty decisions, all of the horrible things that I had done. And I just wanted to lay it all out there because I felt like, what was I going to be if I wasn't going to be like just myself and wasn't going to be like relatable to a certain extent? And I do think that that was part of the reason that, that type of content was endearing to a lot of people. It was endearing to me as well to watch creators who were so unapologetically themselves and so not afraid of just being like, yeah, I have made stupid decisions in my past. And yeah, I have done not the best things and made not the best choices. That to me was easier to relate to than the person who, tries to say that never made a poor choice or they never made a bad decision, or you should feel guilt if you made a bad decision, or you should have regret in your life if you've done something poorly. And to me, I always gravitated more towards the people who again were just completely unapologetically themselves. And I think the reason for that is because they were relatable, and a lot of social media is not relatable, and especially a lot of social media now. I always think that I got into social media at such a perfect time for myself. It was a time where I felt like I could be unapologetically myself, and those who liked it, and those who didn't. And that was something where I really felt like I created a family of people that just understood me in that way. And by family, I mean like you guys. Like I felt like in posting the content that I was, like the people that were there knew me and just, we had this respect for each other in a way because, I wasn't hiding anything. I wasn't holding anything back. I wasn't, trying to be something that I wasn't. It was like, this is me, take it or leave it. And I think that that was relatable in a lot of ways because again, it wasn't this whole I wasn't trying to pretend and again be something that I wasn't. And this is not to put me on like some pedestal or like be high and mighty or holier than thou. It's just kind of what my approach to social media was like and why I think that I got into it at a really good time for me personally. And getting into just social media in general, as where it is now, where it stands now, I've said it before and I will say it again, social media is a highlight reel and it's always been a highlight reel. Even when I was posting on social media, it still still was a highlight reel, especially when you look at like Instagram and things like that. You are only seeing the things that other people out there want you to see. And there is a reason that you hear all of your favorite creators say, social media is just a highlight reel. Don't believe everything you see online. Take everything with a grain of salt. All of these creators are saying this. Like everyone is telling you, read between the lines. Everyone is telling you, don't believe everything you see online. And it's because it's true. It's because that is like the one common denominator that all creators seem to say and all creators seem to have is this feeling of not everything you see, like knowing that not everything you see online is true. And that is coming from the people that are posting things online. So I know it's easy to kind of see it from a bird's eye view and be like, well, yeah, of course, like take everything with a grain of salt. And, social media is a highlight reel. But when you really start to look in between the lines of the effects that social media can have on you mentally, it's really important to remember those things, the things such as take it with a grain of salt. It's not all real. Everyone is just posting their best moments because, again, it's easy to sit there and compare and think that you are so far behind in where you need to be in life purely based on just looking at pictures on your phone or watching a 15-second TikTok on your phone. We have, developed as a generation and as a society who is constantly glued to our screens looking at other people. And that is dangerous and it is detrimental to our mental health. And we are all, most of us, I won't say we're all, I know I personally am very guilty of it. I am so afraid to look at my screen time. There was a time where my screen time was like 12 hours, 13 hours a day. That is insane. I should not be on my phone that much. Granted, I like to think that some of it was because I like to watch Dr. Phil on my phone while I like do chores around the house. So I like to I'll like carry my phone around with me while I watch Dr. Phil. And I think I think that counted for a couple hours of screen time as well. But regardless, us as a society, we are so glued to our phone and looking at other people's lives rather than living our own. And that is such a problem. It is such an issue. And we're really the first generation to be that glued to our cellular devices, to social media, and not really be able to step outside of it and step away from it and look at a life outside of it. Everything is like aesthetically pleasing. We want to have the right aesthetic. We want our grid to look good. It's like we're so sucked into this other dimension, another world where it really takes away from us living our day-to-day lives. And I want to stop for a second and just kind of take a breath and say, if you're sitting here being like, Savannah, that's not me. Like, Savannah, I don't do that. That's great. That's really, really good. And you should be very proud of yourself for it. I'm not trying to categorize everyone into one specific, way of living and saying that because this is what statistics say that everyone, watching or listening is doing the same thing. That's not what I'm trying to get across. Obviously, not everyone is that way. And if that's not you, then that is so great. But there are people out there who are like that. I'm guilty of it sometimes. Sometimes I get so warped into my phone and warped into social media that I have to remind myself to put it down and to walk away. And I do think that it can be very detrimental to your mental health. So I do want to say that I'm not trying to categorize everyone. I know not everyone is the same. I know everyone has very different experiences with social media. Some people are very easily able to just put the phone down and walk away. But I just want to, again, emphasize how, easily you are able to be sucked into that. So, like I said, it's a highlight reel. And everyone says it, but the cliches are cliches for a reason. And this is one of those times. It is one of those universal sayings that we've heard all influencers say on social media. And it's because it's true. That's just the bottom line. And what you need to remember when it comes to looking at posts like Instagram posts or reels or TikToks is that everything is calculated. This is something that I had to remind myself after a while of being on social media, even though I was in social media, I needed to still take a second and remind myself everything that you see online is calculated. Nothing that is being recorded, nothing that is being, captured on a picture, unless, it's a friend who's taking a picture of you when you're not looking, mostly everything is calculated. You look at the people that do the morning routines. Okay. We're going to take this as an example. The people that do the morning routines, they are not waking up with the camera, they're not pressing record and falling asleep. They are waking up, They are taking their phone, they are setting their phone or camera on the tripod, they are pressing record, they are getting back into bed, and they are pretending to wake up in the morning just to have the right shot. And again, this is like no shade on the people that do that, but I just want to emphasize the fact and really like emphasize the idea that you are not seeing authentic moments. So when you're watching a routine or watching, anything that's happening, from someone else's point of view, watching a TikTok or watching a night routine or watching a come follow along with the day in my life or whatever, all of those moments are calculated. Someone's taking their dog for a walk. They are setting the phone down. They are putting their dog on the leash. They're walking out the door. They are then closing the door and then waiting a couple seconds, walking back in, grabbing their phone, and then walking out the door for real this time. Again, it's no shade to those people, but it's like just to show you, and I'm saying this just to show that, those moments are calculated. Same with the pictures. When you look at these pictures on Instagram, the lighting is perfect. The posing is perfect. The clothes fit perfectly. The hair is looking perfect. Everything is looking perfect. And I would say that pictures are probably more easily, calculated than anything else, because I know me personally, I could wear no makeup. My hair could be a mess and I could be looking all disheveled. I could go outside and take a picture. And then with a little magic like Face app, I could then go into that app. I could have my hair look like it got done by Chris Appleton. My makeup could be done by makeup by Mario. I could have a full on different outfit on and you would never know the difference. You might, because that would be a little crazy, but with the power of technology and the power of Photoshop, you would never know the difference. So what I'm saying is most things that you see online are calculated and a little tweaked here and there. So do not compare yourself to what you see online. I want to, something that I go back to, and it's something that I remind myself of, and it's something that you might hear other people say, and I'm sure some of you have. When you are trying to like find a picture of you and your best friend, or you and one of the closest people to you, whether that's a family member, a sibling, whatever, and you don't have any pictures together, you maybe have like one or two. That's because when you are with that person, more than likely, you're not worried about, getting the right shot or taking the right picture or getting the lighting all right. You're caught up in living in the moment. I know me personally with my best friends, we don't have a lot of pictures together. My best friend, Kristen from San Diego, her and I have one picture together that we have used back and forth for probably 6 years for our happy birthday posts to each other. Same thing with my best friend here. We have no pictures together. Same thing with my other best friend. Like the list goes on. And again, not to say that that's everyone's experience, but for the most part, when you're with the people that you truly love and you truly care about and you cherish your time with, you're not worried about getting the right angle. You're not worried about getting the right shot, and you're not worried about getting the right picture, because all you're worried about doing is living in the moment and actually enjoying the time that you're spending with that person. And again, I really just say that to reinstill the fact that you should not be comparing yourself to anyone. And it's so much easier said than done. It's so much easier to not compare what your life looks like to someone else's based purely off of social media. And again, we hear it all the time. Don't compare, blah, 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 blah. We hear it all the time, but do not allow yourself to feel bad about where you are in life, what you have materialistically, what you look like. Don't put your self-love and self-worth into purely social media because you're comparing your life to someone else's. Everyone is going through things. That's just the matter of fact. It is just life. Everyone is going through things that they hide, and no one is posting, what's really going on behind the scenes. I can say personally, I have a lot of shit going on right now, personally, that makes my head want to explode sometimes. But am I coming on here and talking about it? No. Will I in the future? Maybe. But I'm saying that to just kind of prove a point where me right now coming on here and talking about the dangers of social media and the harmful effects that it can have, I'm using this as an example to say, everyone's got shit going on. Everyone has stuff going on in their life. And it's easy to look at someone who's posting a picture and looking so happy and so cheery and smiley and loving their life and thinking that they have it all together and that they don't have any problems. And obviously, when you say that out loud, like when I'm hearing myself say that, it's like, Savannah, No duh. Like, obviously, everyone's got their own things going on. Everyone's got their own issues. Everyone has their own struggles. But I think it's easier to stop and admit that rather than when you're just aimlessly scrolling and not realizing that each person you're scrolling by has their own struggles. They have their own insecurities. They have their own issues that they're dealing with behind the scenes. And when we're scrolling so fast, it's hard to stop and realize that with each and every person. I could go back to all of my Instagram pictures and all of the ones where I'm smiling and I'm trying to look like sultry and sexy and pretty and all the things. And I can tell you in each one of them what was going down in that time in my life, like what crisis I was dealing with, what was making me feel like the earth was going to end the next day, what I was struggling with at that time that you would not know because I was not saying it. I wasn't going to say it in my little Instagram caption with me posting in my little Princess Polly dress. Sorry, I wasn't. And I just think that it's really easy to think that you are the only one who is dealing with hardships and dealing with hard times, and you're the only one that's going through things just simply based off of scrolling on social media. It's easy to think that you're the only one that's living like this normal quote unquote life, that you're not living this incredibly luxurious life filled with all of these, materialistic things when you're watching everyone on social media who has just one thing after another, whether it's a car, a house, a jet, a vacation. Like, you're constantly seeing these things play out online. So it's easy to look at yourself and be like, wait, why am I the only one that doesn't live like that? Am I the only one that doesn't have those things? The answer to that is no. But social media is designed in a way that makes it seem like you're the only one that's living a certain way. And that's just not true. Now, I want to pull up a few statistics. We're going to get scientific here. I want to pull up a few statistics really to just emphasize the points that I'm making and show you that you're not alone. So, first of all, from a report from Stanford Law, it states that a report found that the use of social networking is associated with an increased risk of depression, anxiety, and psychological stress. You might be sitting there thinking, no duh, but I'm going to continue. Another article from Bright Future NY states that 41% of women on social media report feeling pressure to present themselves in a certain way. 63% of people on social media report being lonely, and 37% of people on social media reported having a fear of missing out on what they are seeing online. Now, again, I'm not telling you this to try and be like Albert Einstein over here, because we all know that I'm not. I'm telling you this to really show you that you are not alone if you fall into those percentages. You are not alone if you feel like your life is not equating to the ones that you see people living on social media. We are really in this interesting place. And I said this in the beginning, we're in a really interesting place in society because no generation other than us has ever been so exposed to social media at the rate that we are and in the way that we are. There has never been a point in history leading up to this one where we have had the access to the world as much as we do today. You could tweet your favorite celebrity and you might get a response. Like, you could reach, Taylor Swift, you could reach Beyonce, you could reach, let's even go further than that. There's these things that I'm seeing where there's these birthday videos that people are making on TikTok, and you send in a little request, and there's people on the opposite side of the globe that will make a birthday video for you. Cameos, for example, are another one. We have such access to everyone in the world right now, and people aren't supposed to be this easily accessible. They're just not. I think that we can all agree. Maybe we can't all agree, but I know me personally, I don't think everyone should be so easily accessible. I think we should go back to a time where there was a little bit of a boundary and a little bit of a privacy and a little bit of, a distance between certain people. I think that that would benefit us greatly. But I say that because, again, we are not supposed to be so easily accessible. And now with social media, we are. I could find anyone. I could figure out, where they're from, where they went to school, what their parents' names are. And that's not just a little CIA agent in me. Okay. It's not. This is public knowledge. This is stuff that is just out there. We can find out really anything on anyone. And I know this because I do a lot of research on killer instincts, and I can find out a lot of things about a lot of people, and I can find out a lot of things about anyone. Really. My friend will send me a picture of a guy. I can figure out anything about them in about give me 30 minutes. I will have everything you need to know about them. Their family, where they grew up, what their parents do for a job, what their siblings are, who their siblings are, what their nieces and nephews' names are. I can find out everything. I can. And I shouldn't be able to. But I mean, and not sometimes I'm glad I can. But you get what I'm saying. I want you guys to remember that social media is really for entertainment. And it's really important to remember that because when you start to look at social media like it's this detrimental thing and you're looking at it to fulfill some sort of void, or you're sitting there and you look on social media and you think that the reason that you're not happy or you're not fulfilled in life is because you don't have whatever you're seeing online, that is when social media becomes very harmful because we are losing a sense of ourself. We are losing a sense of our identity when we put so much of it into what quite literally is a made up world. If you think about it, like we tend to lose so much of our in like again, identity, self-love, self-worth because we're constantly looking at people and comparing ourselves to people online. And that's no fault of our own. Like I keep saying, we do not have the tools yet to really approach social media in a healthy way because as this generation, we were literally just given it and it was like, here you go, figure it out and, don't let it affect you. That's insane. That's an insane mindset to have. Now, I kind of want to switch gears a little bit and kind of talk about why I stopped posting on social media. I haven't posted an Instagram picture since my 27th birthday, and I'm about 4 months away from turning 28. The last picture I posted before that was in August of 2023, so over a year ago. I stopped posting on social media, and I'm talking Instagram. I'll get to YouTube in a second. The pressure on Instagram became too much for me personally. And I think it was two things. I think it really came down to the pressure I was putting on myself. I can sit here and say that it's the pressure that social media creates, but truthfully, it was not social media's fault necessarily. It was the way that social media was affecting me. The way that I was allowing social media to affect me was the issue. The pressure that I felt to be perfect or live up to a certain standard was the reason that I stopped posting as much on Instagram. I stopped loving it, truthfully. And I talked about this on YouTube a while back too, but I stopped loving it. I felt an obligation almost to, like I said, live up to a certain standard. I felt an obligation to have a certain number of likes, a certain number of comments, a certain number of validation, or a certain type of validation, I should say, coming from other people. And that was unhealthy. I got out of a relationship in 2020 and I noticed that I spent a lot of time seeking, like in my healing era, I spent a lot of time in that journey and in that process seeking validation from other people. And I just felt that it was very unhealthy. I remember when I would post a picture on social media, if it got like, I would look for a couple different names. There were probably 5 or 6 names of either crushes that I've had in the past, guys that I've talked to, guys that I've dated, that I would look to see if they liked it. And if all 5 of them or all 6 of them, however many it was, if they all liked it, I felt like it was a good picture. I felt validated and I was seeking validation through others rather than myself. I would use that same tactic about the amount of likes. If it got a certain amount of likes, I was happy with it. It was a good picture. I felt validated. If I got a certain number of comments, it was a good picture. I felt validated. If it got a certain number of reposts, you get the drift. I felt validated through others, and that was a dangerous place for me to be in mentally. And again, that's really no one else's fault. It was, I don't want to say my fault because I don't blame myself for necessarily how I got sucked into social media in a way that, for everyone who is trying to also navigate it at the same time. I think we're all trying to figure out how to navigate social media in a healthy way. And so I'm not going to sit here and be like, oh, it was completely my fault because everyone else knows how to navigate it and I don't. I don't think that, but I do think that I was navigating it in an unhealthy way. And now I think I've reached a point where I know how to navigate it. And again, I was posting because I felt like I had to, not because I wanted to. And again, to a certain degree, this is my job. Like, I'm not unaware of that fact. Like, I do have to post and I do have to, be on social media and be active and whatever. But I noticed with those pictures, like the Instagram, the selfies, whatever, it was because I felt like I had to, not because I wanted to, and that scared me because I loved social media so much when I first started, and when that same love started to drift, I got nervous because I was like, "Well, what am I gonna do if I don't love this thing that I've been loving for years and years and years? Like, how is that gonna work?" And so I stopped posting on, Instagram specifically, and I've been really slow on it, but I will say this kind of break that I've taken, it has not only allowed me to live so in the moment and really take a second to and take a minute to be grateful for where I'm at in life, be grateful for the people that I have in my life, be grateful for the moments that I experience and really be present because I'm not worried about, oh, let me get the shot, let me get the picture, let me, do what I got to do. I'm like so much more focused on just living my life. And it's a really liberating and freeing place to be and a freeing mindset to have. But also, kind of the beauty of it is it's made me miss it a little bit. I do miss, having those, making a post just because I like it, just because I want to. And again, it's not that deep. It's never going to be that deep. It's always social media. It's not that deep. But like, me taking a step back has made that love for it grow a little more. So I think that that is a benefit in all of this. Same with YouTube. Same with the long form content. When I broke up with my boyfriend or my ex like 4 years ago or whatever, or 3, I don't know. I can't do math. But when I broke up with him, I stopped posting lifestyle because I felt like I was just really going through it and I couldn't post lifestyle and come on and be happy and smiley and hey guys, and let's do that. Let's try out this new like tea together. No, no, it drove me nuts. And so I purely put all my energy into Killer Instinct. And that is really where I just like tunnel visioned on Killer Instinct because Killer Instinct was very, it's research and it's other people's lives and I, am retelling a case and it's not what's going on with me. It's not my emotions. It's not my life. And for me, it was easier to compartmentalize and easier to kind of just move through my healing process without doing lifestyle stuff because I didn't want to talk about it and I didn't want to deal with it and I didn't want to face it. After taking a step back for quite some time, though, that's where I started to realize, oh, I miss this. Like, I miss the content that I used to make. I miss the long form content. I will always through and through be a long form content girly. That is just my bread and butter. I just love that stuff. I've started doing the vlogs again and truthfully, that's where I feel like I can be my most authentic self, other than sitting here in this chair with you guys. Obviously, I really do feel like I have an authentic space to be able to just like open up and be myself with you guys too. But I'm talking more so just like not in a podcast, like in my day to day life. Like I take you guys through, even though my life is not that interesting and it's pretty, mundane and it's the same thing pretty much every day. We do a couple hauls, we do a get ready with me, we'll maybe do an activity, we'll do a little this and that. And that's the vlog. But I do feel like I'm able to be my most authentic version of myself. I pretty much damn near had an anxiety attack with you guys like 2 or 3 vlogs ago. And, it's all out there is what I'm trying to say. And I love that because that to me is the most authentic version of me. And that's what, made me love social media in the first place. That's what made me want to start all of this in the first place. And so that's where I really gravitate towards and where I want to put my energy towards alongside with the podcasts. I do love the podcasts so much. And I'm really grateful for them because they've given me a space where, I can really, again, just be myself and for in different ways on different ones. But yeah, I've really been able to, for my thoughts exactly specifically, be my authentic self. So I really, thank you guys for that. And now I'm getting on a rant about why I love you guys so much. But what I want to say and just kind of like wrap everything up about the social media conversation is the real reason I wanted to talk to you about this is because first of all, like I said, we've never unpacked the concept of social media. We've talked about it in What Would Sav Do? We've talked about it here and there, but we've never really unpacked it and how it can be so harmful, and I think it's really important as a society who is trying to navigate social media at the scale that it's at for the very first time, it's important for us to be able to differentiate what is real and what is not. It's important to be able to put the phone down and go out and live our life and not worry about getting the perfect post or the perfect shot or the perfect video. It's important for us as a society and as humans and as people to experience real life things without a camera in our face. Living with cameras in our faces is not normal. This piece of technology that we have here, the fact that it's, it probably does a lot of scary stuff that I don't even want to think about, but it's not normal to be so involved 24/7 with technology. We do need to go out and live our lives, and we do need to go out and enjoy them. And we do need to live in a life where we're not constantly comparing ourselves to other people, because again, I think that that's where things get really messy and really sticky, and that's when it really starts to have an impact on our mental health, because we're constantly thinking that we're the problem, that we have something wrong, that we need to fix ourselves, because if we do, maybe we'll look like the girl on Instagram. And that's not true. Do not let social media diminish your light. Do not let it diminish your self-worth, and do not let it diminish the love that you have for yourself simply because of what you are seeing on another person's page. Social media has so many benefits to it, and I'm not here to knock those. I'm really just here to allow you to understand, or not allow you, but to really open the conversation up of what some of those harmful things are and how to spot them, and what to do when you are noticing that you're kind of snowballing and going down the rabbit hole, and getting in this cycle of constantly comparing and never feeling like you're good enough, because we're looking at social media and we see all of these people that are living their best lives and we don't feel like we're living the same. Do not compare yourself. You are where you are meant to be in life right now in this moment, and I think it's really easy to think that you're not, but you are. And I think it's also really important to remember that there is so much life that you have left to live, and you don't know what that's going to look like. And you should be excited about that. There's fear in the unknown, but there's also excitement too. And I think that when we look on social media and try and control our lives and manipulate our lives in a way where we will also have what they have on social media, our lives will look like theirs, you're taking away the authenticity of your own life. And just don't do that, because you deserve to have a very authentic life that is curated specifically to you. And you also deserve to have all of that self-love and self-worth, and not to let it be diminished by, what you see on a screen, because again, it's for the most part not all real. So I'll leave it at that. But with that being said, you guys, that is all for me today. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. If you did, make sure you go ahead and click that subscribe button. That way you never miss one. We post weekly here on the podcast every single Friday. You're not going to want to miss it. I will be back next week with a brand new one for you guys, and I will see you there. Bye, guys.